What's going on in the world today? What's up, America? So, got Mark Benefield joining me today. So, what's up, Mark? Thanks for jumping on the
What's
call
up?
with me. Hey, man, you killed training today. You were on fire. I asked Mark to jump on here with me for a few minutes. He obviously crushed training. Mark's helped me train hundreds of agents and ISAs over the years. You know, how we ramp them up from, 0 days to 90 days and 90 days to 6 months to be able to get them to getting, killer results, not just in our team and our network, but also externally. And so I wanted you to be able to talk and share a little bit about what that looks like from, day zero and that core process to get somebody ramped up in 90 days on the foundation side. And then maybe we can get into some of the advanced stuff. But what's it look like to help, ramp an agent or an inside sales agent up with what we're doing?
I think the number one thing, the first thing you have to do is you got to get them having real estate conversations, and what I like to call the accelerate the rate of failure. You can't replace talking to people and immersing yourself, which is something we've always talked. You've talked a lot about that immersion training and getting people in front of. And so, literally, people are really surprised when we start a new ISA, and on the third day we have them on the phone, and
Right.
I usually give them a task. I give them a task of, hey, I want you to call, 50 people this afternoon. And it's a test. It's a test right away to see if they're going to be willing to do the work that's necessary to have a lot of conversations. So I don't expect them to set any appointments. I don't expect to have them, even a few conversations. What I expect is that they will go out and execute the very basic things that have to happen, which is have real estate conversations. So go out and find out what you don't know. And so, within the first couple, third day, get them some basic dialogue, get them on the phone, and see if they're going to be willing to do what you ask them to do. If they're willing to do that, you got somebody you can spend some more time training. If they can't do it, well, you might decide real quickly it's time to part ways.
Okay.
That's the number one step.
Okay. So getting them in real estate conversations. And then what do you mean by immersion? I know what you mean. I really picked this up from Tony Robbins back in the days of how to get people trained and ramped up. But what does immersion look like?
Well, immersion goes hand in hand with experiential learning, right? So, people learn best, adults learn best through their own experiences or learning while doing, if you will, right? Which is different than the way you necessarily teach children. Adults work best when they can apply their own thought processes and their own experience base. And then when they're in the middle of it every day and they're shadowing somebody and they're doing the work and they're hearing other conversations going on, where you have it really what you call kind of a 360-degree look at it, coming from all directions, with some structure, of course, of what they're hearing, but putting them in the middle of it every day allows them to really understand that, hey, I can do this too. I can do what they do. Maybe I don't know how to do that yet, but I'm learning from this person, and just kind of surround them, wrap around them all the different training modules and training things that we have, but putting them in the middle of it quickly is what it's all about.
Quickly, I love that. So today we did more classroom training. Coaching and training our people up, and then the 360-degree angle that they're going to be able to experience is Thursdays and Fridays, where we're making live calls with them and then critiquing each a call after the call and giving them feedback. And then also we have other agents and ISAs asking questions through live chat and after the call as well, right? So I love that stuff. Now, in 90 days, you're getting, we're getting 3 sessions in a week, 3 hours, maybe 4 hours a weekend with these agents and these ISAs. What does it look like weekly to be able to get to the 90-day mark with what you're coaching in terms of doing what training in the right order, right? Because we know this isn't just about reading from a script and reading word for word, but you do have to build upon building blocks psychologically to prepare them to be able to go out and have those conversations with confidence, right?
Sure. Well, there's really kind of four parts. You mentioned several parts. There's really four parts to the process that we utilize when we're bringing somebody along. One of those is there is at the beginning, especially over that first. The geese are flying by today. Over that first month, there is some one-on-one time or small group time that has to happen, right? Because you have to be able to meet the ISA where they're at. Some of them have experience, some have zero experience, and so I do schedule time in my calendar for each person individually over that first month, where I'm spending an hour or a little bit more than that with them, usually at the beginning of the week, where we're doing role playing and we're putting in the initial dialogue and we're doing scripting, etc. They'll probably count to hear from me once or twice throughout the week as well, where I call and kind of check in with them to see how things are going. But we're also they're also involved in our larger scale program, which is our Tuesday Mastery program, which is where they start to learn sales skill, which is beyond just the dialogue, kind of the reason behind the why, how to do things, how to get people to make decisions, how to listen well, how to ask great questions, etc. And then, of course, we have our live and direct, where you do the live and direct training right now on Wednesdays, and I kick in and do it on Thursdays, where we're putting them, once again, immersing them with other ISAs, getting a chance to listen to them, maybe actually stepping up and doing some of the stuff on their own, etc. By touching them literally every single day, they get an opportunity to step outside of the environment that they're at in your office, or if they're working from home, and be connected with a bunch of other success-oriented people. But there's a part the local agency has in it too, right? There's still CRM training that has to happen. There's skill assessment there, where some role playing and everything. So it's really a partnership. It's not just send me this person and send them back all fixed. It's, hey, how do we build a program together that allows continued growth and continued skill set development as time goes on?
Yeah, without a doubt, it's all about incremental improvements, right? If you improve 1% every day, just think where you're going to be at the end of the year.
And incremental is the important part. Incremental is a very important part. I mean, a lot of people want that fast. Hey, they should be able to do this in 30 days. And we can get them to a point, but it builds upon it. And having a proper expectation is important.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, what's the benefit to having them work with us, shadow us, training alongside us? I know, I just talked about some of my results in a live interview, I did, and I closed, 125 homes just in the first part of September, right? So they're being able to immerse themselves with experienced people that are already selling a bunch of homes. We're collaborating, working together, making live calls. Peer-to-peer accountability is huge. So even what's like maybe the accountability piece look like that with tracking, being able to predict business, hold them accountable on that front. Like what's the accountability piece look like?
That's the key thing, because a lot of times when we're trained as ISAs, oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes we're actually establishing, ISA programs with team members who haven't had an ISA before. Sometimes they do, and or they tried to establish a program and they failed at whatever level, and it happens to everybody. I mean, we all fail at stuff, right? It's not a big deal. But they haven't really established the program. So part of that program is predictability and understanding your business and where business is coming from. And so the old adage is you have to, inspect what you're going to expect, right? So if we set a goal for our ISA, whether it be production or whatever it is, then we should have the proper processes in place to be able to measure that, right? And so we share with all of our clients, teams that we work with, whether internal, external, are tracking things that you use and Select Homes use, to build, one of the top inside sales teams in the country. And when I say one of the top, I mean we're talking about in the top, not 1%. We're talking about the top 10 in the country. That didn't just happen by itself overnight.
Right,
I mean, there's a lot of stuff that went into that, and I'll admit I get a chuckle sometimes. Like, I'm just like everybody else. Not a real estate license. I'm on the same Facebook feed. I get ad after ad after ad after ad from people, And I crack up sometimes when I see people, well, we sell X, we sold 120 homes last year. I mean, there were times when we would do that in a month, and now you're already doing more of that in a month, with your network.
Right.
Success leaves clues. And so
Right.
to be able to use the right type of, track the right numbers, understand the conversation to appointment ratios, understand, what your connection ratios are, where your business is coming from, which verticals, whether it be for sale by owners or expired or circle prospecting or buyer leads or, whatever it might be, which ones are actually bringing you business. Most people, if I was to ask them, they couldn't tell me. They couldn't tell. I'd say they'd give me some anecdotal number, but they don't have any data. And so unless you're tracking it, it's not, you can't improve it unless you're tracking it. So we teach ISAs how to track it. And we also work with the rainmakers, the leaders, on what they should be tracking and how to track it. And we make it very simple.
I love it. You have to, what did you say? I love that quote. You have to inspect what you inspect. And I've always said that you can't improve anything that you don't measure, right?
Right.
And so the accountability piece is a huge piece of that, to be able to predict where your business is coming from, but being able to scale the lead source from a valid conversation to a qualified appointment on like a call log. And then there's part 2 to that with the master tracker, what's actually hitting the closing table, right?
Mm-hmm.
And which agent was given the lead and the nurture process and the cash conversion cycle and all that stuff. What I'm teaching my partners now and what we're building is a predictable business. And if you don't have a predictable business, you don't have a business that you can really scale. And I truly believe that. Now, when we talk about some of the frustration or constraints or whatever, to be able to get this predictable position up and going, and also being able to protect your asset that you invested in the leads and scale a return on your investment and all that stuff. But for me, when we built up, there's 5 or 6 of us built up to a large organization. Just since the first of the year, I've added 250 agents, showing partners how to do the same thing. I mean, it's amazing what's happening. But you, as a rainmaker and as an owner, especially if you're still running the field and selling real estate yourself, you run into a bandwidth problem, right? And if you don't have this position in your business, or you do, and you're trying to hold them accountable and you're trying to be, a responsible business owner to the dollars that you're spending, this is just in my own opinion, when we brought you in, you were able to free up my time and free up some more bandwidth so it could keep me in more high leverage situations in terms of growing the company, right? So maybe speak to some of the benefits that we have seen that it gives the rainmakers, team leads, and all that stuff, versus them trying to have to do all this themselves. And maybe they've never even built a call center, a resource center, or even built a large database. So what's the benefit?
The key word you used was leverage. I mean, everybody's looking for that leverage. Right. Everybody's trying to duplicate themselves. Yeah. And, depending on your size, depending on where you're coming from and how far you are along in your business, not everybody's a lead coordinator and a lead ISA and 3 ISAs underneath them, somebody who can come in and take on the training and do the hiring and bring them in and walk through the process and do the, 360 interviews. And there's a lot there. There's a lot to unpack. I mean, I could continue to list it, but everybody's looking for that leverage. How do they duplicate themselves? How do they schedule more appointments so they don't have to spend as much time on the phone? How do they follow up? Everybody's already spending money on leads, but they're not necessarily getting the return on investment they're looking for. So there's a lot of different leverage points there. A good, well-selected, well-trained, somebody who manages themselves to some extent with the assistance of, peeking in others. I mean, there's no replacement for that. But you have to hire the right way, and then you have to train them the right way, and then you have to have the mechanisms in place that will allow them to some extent to self-manage and self-supervise. It has back to who you hire. If you really want to grow to that next step in your business, you're going to have to find a way to duplicate yourself. And if you're spending all your time doing script practice, with your ISA, and then reviewing their numbers all day, and then sitting and listening to them all day, and then they have troubles, they need to talk to somebody, they can't find you because you're out in the field. Well, guess what? They can find me because all I got to do is pick up the phone number or text me, and within a couple of hours, I could probably meet with them. and we can talk through their issues, whether it's a headspace issue or it's a technical issue or whatever it might be. And trust me, they tell me stuff they would never tell you.
Right.
No, your ISA is not going to pick up the phone and say, "Hey, boss, I suck today. I had a lot of call reluctance. I didn't do a good job of hearing to my scripts. I just was really crappy day," right? But they can tell me that. They can tell me that all day long. I can shape them back up, put them back together, and send them back off to you. So not only now you can leverage the fact that you don't need to be a career counselor, right? Because to some extent, I'm doing some of that. That's just a part of that coach, relationship. And so there's a lot to try to do yourself. And if you've never actually done it yourself, that's also difficult too.
Right. So you called it head trash or whatever. I like that.
Yeah.
So, a lot of this is mindset and being able to help them work on their mindset. I've always said a majority of my best coaching I have done hasn't been on the technical side of how to be the best mechanic in the business, but it's been about how to stay focused, have a radical focus, work through mindset, work through some of that head trash to be able to enthusiastically move from failure to failure to be able to scale those valid conversations to appointment ratio. So also being able to have somebody to help work with your ISA or your agents on mindset, head trash, and being able to keep that radical focus so they can finish the year strong. I mean, that's just invaluable for somebody like myself as a rainmaker, somebody like myself that's building a huge organization. Because if you weren't on the training today and what we're building, those are things that I would have to be doing. And instead, I happen to be on, some calls with some partners or whatever. Actually, I got another one here soon, but I would have been distracted. And so this is just about building an organization where you can get the right people sitting on the right seat of the bus, but being able to leverage what we're already doing and what we've built, right? So I kind of like that. So that's kind of like the foundation side of things. I know I want to wrap up here in a few minutes. I just asked you to jump on with me today because I kind of chimed into some of your training and it was fantastic. Help me understand kind of what the advanced piece looks like here. And what are some of the topics you touch on? What are some of the things that you teach in the advanced stuff that I think that even veterans that have been in the game 10 years need to hear? What is some of that stuff?
We open up our the training stuff that we do. We don't only just work with ISAs. We also opened it up to agents because there's a lot of places where agents need to develop their skill set. In fact, I saw a study not long ago where it said and they did a poll. I think it was like 500 different real estate rainmakers, owners, brokers, etc. And the number one problem that they were facing was skill development. They just can't find the people with the right skill sets. So they bring people in and try to train them, right? But skill set comes from a lot of places, and a lot of people that get into real estate don't really have a skill set as far as training goes, or as far as sales goes, sales specific. So we have our program on Tuesdays is what we call Sales Mastery, and it's really about taking stuff from the basic level, which everybody teaches, and taking them to the next step, and really get into things like behavioral psychology. Why do people do the things they do? My word choices. How do I get people to get emotionally involved? How do I use emotional-based words to connect people to the problems that they have? Process, structure, understanding the process that people go through when they make decisions and how you can influence those. Understanding what questions to ask. People all the time say, ask great open-ended questions, but I'll tell you what questions to ask. Well, where do you go to learn that? Well, this is where you go to learn that. Working at those highest levels, getting into things like transactional analysis and the interplay of ego states. And, some people figure this stuff out. And that's one of the things I was always impressed with you, Adam, is that, when we first met a few years ago, 4 years ago or so, you somehow figured some of this stuff out on your own, whether it just be a street smart guy or whatever. A lot of people don't have a place to go to learn stuff out. And so what happens is they get a year or so of training and then they don't progress. And then they get frustrated why 4 years later they're still doing 20 deals or 25 because they haven't learned anything new. Yeah, they know their presentation, but they haven't learned anything new. You got to find some way to break out of that mold. Our mastery program is probably the best program that we have because it takes performers that are already pretty good and helps them just be outstanding. With a different way to look at things that they never thought of before. It's not the same thing that you're going to hear from everybody else. It's developed at a level that new people can learn, absolutely. But people that are already in the business and have been in the business start to look at some things completely differently than they have before, and they start finding the edge. Now, I ought to change the name to edge training, because they really just start finding the edge that is a little rough, and if they would have sand it down and make it smoother, man, it just get them past like so many issues that they've been having, but they can't identify it. And so learning new things help them identify those problems.
I think one of the big box real estate companies or coaching companies has a conference called that.
Oh yeah, there is Sales Edge or something like that. That's true, right? Sales Edge, something like that. That's true. That is. I didn't think about that. So yeah, they already took it. Sorry, I'll come up with a different name. It's no problem.
It's all good. It's all about net results, man. And no, I appreciate you hopping on here with me for a few minutes. I appreciate you. You got anything you'd like to add before we hop off here?
Man, this is an exciting time. It's an exciting time in real estate. But I will tell you, everybody's looking for, what's going to happen next. And if you don't find a way to leverage your business and grow, and put the core processes in place that are going to carry you through the next few years, if you don't concentrate and focus on developing not only yourself, but the people around you, you're going to end up with the same results you're getting now. And I'm not sure that's what somebody wants to have 5 years from now.
I don't even necessarily know if you'll get the same results. I got in real estate when everybody was getting out of it and built a huge independent brokerage with a couple of partners, and we're expanding like crazy right now, but we built that in a down market. And so I think Warren Buffett says, yes, everybody's swimming around in closings and money right now, and it's easy. The market bounce back, it's great, but you can see where it goes in some areas, whether it's the best marketers and the best salespeople run predictable businesses are going to continue to rise to the top. And I think other people lessen results in what they're currently getting out or end up having to go get a job, right? Don't
wait till it gets harder to do something about it.
Right.
Do something about it now and get in front of the curve.
So I appreciate you, Mark. Hey, if you guys like to learn more information about what we do, click that link, grab a free consultation. It's tied to our calendars. We're willing to chat with you, help you grow your organization, explode and expand your business, because the time is now. Just do it. Later, Mark. Thanks.